Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Sharmit. In this session, we will discuss about another way through which we can fetch the data from the cursor. This time, we are going to discuss about the keyword relative. Okay, so what we will do in this session, we will create one example program and where we will use the fetch relative. Okay, so before discussing the program, let me show you the actual data on which we are going to use this relative keyword, and then we'll understand what is the requirement of it. Okay, and then later we will discuss the example. So here on this screen, I'm running one query which is select star from Sharmit1, which is my library name, slash emppf1, which is my file name. Now hit enter. So once you hit enter, you will see that there are some records. Total 4 records is there, just a sample record. So suppose from this record you want to fetch a particular value, or you can say particular record from this entire column. Okay, so how you can do this? Like previously we have discussed the way through which we can fetch the last record, right? Fetch last. With fetch last we can fetch this. With fetch first we can fetch this, and also we see how to use the fetch prior. So what fetch prior was moving from bottom to top, but this in this session we are going to discuss about the relative. So what relative will do, let's say I want to fetch this particular position which is at second. So what I can do, I can pass fetch relative to, so it will pick only the second record from the file. Similarly, if you want to fetch the third record, you can pass fetch relative 3, and then you can fetch the third record from the file. Okay, so this was all about the requirement. Now we will see the example. So for that, I will go to the session A. Here what we are doing, we have declared this cursor. Let me show you this program. So here inside this program, first of all, we have declared one constant which is SQL state underscore valid with 5 times 0. This constant we will use to store, not to store, but to check the SQL state or to match the SQL state. Whenever we are executing any SQL statement, it returns the SQL status, and through that status only we can identify whether the you can say whether the a query is executed properly or not. Okay, so if your SQL state is matched with this constant SQL state underscore valid, which means 5 times 0, then it means that your query is executed properly. But if it is not matching with 5 times 0 or SQL state underscore valid, then it means the query is not executed properly. Now below to this we have declared one variable. So just for the example purpose, I am fetching only the one column from this table, which is the employee ID. Okay, so you can see here w underscore ID zone 9. So this is the host variable which I am going to use in order to store the output which is returned from our query. Now below to this we have set the commitment control. Like on line number 18 I am running exec SQL set option commit none. So what it will do, it will set the commitment control to none. Afterwards we have started the declaration portion. So we know how to declare the cursor. So to declare the cursor we just need to write this exec SQL, which is for execute SQL. Then I'm using this keyword declare, and the cursor name is get data. So it will declare the cursor with get data name, and it is of type scroll, means it is a scrollable cursor, and for the query this. So this is the query. So whenever you are using any cursor, just make sure to run that query before executing the program. So let me show you this. If I copy and paste it here, it will show the exact data in which I am interested. I am interested in only the employee ID column, so it will fetch only this data. So this is the entire cursor. Now from this cursor we will fetch the record, but before fetching the record we should open the cursor. So to open the cursor you can simply write exec SQL, which is for execute SQL, then open get data, where get data is my cursor name. Afterwards we are using the actual statement through which we are fetching the relative record from position 2. So for that just write exec SQL, which is for execute SQL, fetch relative 2 from get data, where get data is my cursor name, into host variable w underscore id. So let's say if you are fetching multiple columns or from the table, then in that case either you can pass multiple variable or you can pass the data structure array. Okay. Once data is fetched from the second relative position, then you can display it. So here I'm displaying it, but before displaying I would suggest you to check the SQL state again. If it is equal to SQL state underscore valid, then it means it is executed properly. In that case you can print the DSP w underscore id. Let me show you what I'm saying here. So here you can check if SQL state. Most of the people also use SQL code to check the to verify their query. It is up to you, but I would suggest you to go with SQL state. So if SQL state is equal to SQL state underscore valid, which is my constant, then display result. Okay, else you can display error message, because if it is not returning this, then it means there is some error. So ndef, and here you can print error. So just a simple either, yeah, here you can write SQL error. Okay, and to provide proper detail you can also print the SQL state so that user can directly search for that particular SQL state. SQL state. So let's see how it will work, and just let me give some blank line here. Okay, fine. So what it will do, it will check for SQL state. If SQL state is equal to SQL state underscore valid, then it will display the result, which is w underscore id. Else it will show the SQL state with the message SQL error, and then doing ndef, and after fetching the data we are closing the cursor. So here I'm running one exec SQL to close the cursor, where get data is my cursor name, and simply do the star INR to star on. So let's quickly compile this program and call it. It is printing 20, which is correct, right? It is printing 20. Now if let's say requirement is bit changed and this time we want to fetch the fourth record, so simply just go and change the value of relative 2 to relative 4, and then in that case it will fetch the fourth record from your table. So let's quickly compile it and call it. So you can see it is printing 90, and if you check the data, the fourth position is for 90 only. Okay, so this is how we can easily utilize this fetch relative keyword in order to fetch the data from a specific position of your table. This is very important thing, like whenever there is any requirement where you want to check or fetch the specific record from the file, then in that case you can use relative. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this session. I hope it is clear to all of you. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.